Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. I hope you enjoy. My first Christmas, written by Sean Advanson. I should have listened when the Union rep told me I should wait for another navigator. Any navigator, as long as they weren't human. Too much trouble, they said. No, I was in too much of a hurry and hired on the human. It is important to me that I am a good captain. To that end, I have accumulated a set of rules, guidelines, if you will, to keep me moving in that direction. I've written them all down in a tablet, 68 rules so far. Rule 31. Allow the crew to express themselves when it does not interfere with the operation of the vessel or the morale of other crew. Now, there were multicolored lights that served no purpose strung up through the passageway, decorations of giant ice crystals on the bulkheads, and one of a fat human in some sort of ceremonial garb on the bulkhead in the mess. The human's cabin had been piling up with small, brightly colored boxes. At every station she left with another of the crew to go shopping and would return with more stuff that got piled in her cabin. At the last station she'd been ecstatic to return with a replica Terran tree. As soon as the human's contract expired, I'd let her go and hire another navigator, even one fresh out of the academy. Perhaps then, my life could return to some semblance of normal. I absent-mindedly groomed my mandibles with my forelimbs. Not exactly good manners, but I was never known for that. "Hey, Cap, you all right?" the human asked. "Why do you ask?" "It's just that when you start grooming your mandibles, it usually means you're moody or thinking hard." She turned towards me with a strange face. Humans were in that weird place between predator and prey, sharing features with both. When they looked right at you with their binocular vision, though, they felt more like complete predators, tickling some long-forgotten part of my hindbrain. "Navigator Katarina, what is the meaning of the lights and water ice crystals?" "Cap, I told you before. Just call me Cat. The lights and snowflakes and Santa are decorations for Christmas." "Navigator. What is it? Some human thing, I assume. The way that you are hoarding in your cabin, I'd think that it was a nesting display. But I haven't read any such thing with humans." That gave me a disturbing thought, and I did my best to keep my forelimbs and antenna from giving it away. "Is it a nesting display? Are you going into heat? Why, Captain Hentulia of the Karela, Hin. You don't mind if I call you Hin? If you think you've embarrassed yourself," she laughed. While it might be taken by some as a threat display, I knew that it was a gesture of mirth. She regained her composure and ran one of her fleshy hands across my shoulder carapace. "No, Hin. Humans don't have seasons to go in heat like some. I'm not hoarding. I'm just storing presents away until Christmas." "Again, what is it?" I'd just broken one of my rules for being a good captain. Rule 12. Don't raise your voice in anger or frustration. She shrunk down in her seat. "Sorry, Captain. No, I'm sorry, Cat. I shouldn't have raised my voice." I settled my wing carapaces and calmed myself. "Please tell me what Christmas is." "Christmas is a midwinter festival," she said. "It started out with pagans that worshipped the rebirth of the sun and got picked up by a few other religions. Then a really popular religion picked up on it as the birth date of their messiah. From there it turned into a more secular, commercial holiday. A decorated tree, like the pagans, and a saint turned into a symbol of commerce, stuff like that. Mostly it's an excuse for everyone to get together in the dark of winter, eat too much, and exchange gifts." "A religious holiday, then?" "For some. Not for me. As the only human aboard, are you giving all these gifts to yourself?" She straightened up and her face brightened. "No, silly. Those are everyone's gifts. The rest of the crew are excited for it. I was going to loop you in on the next port, but you're the last one to join in." "Why would you want to celebrate a human midwinter festival on a ship where you're the only human and there is no winter or summer or even days and nights?" "Well, I've been on the crew for half a cycle, and everyone's made me feel like a part of the family. It just seemed right." She placed her hand on my shoulder carapace again. "I'll make you a deal. Join us for this, and if you don't like it, we'll cancel the plans for the other holidays." "Other holidays?" I asked. I hated to admit it, but her fleshy hands felt good on my carapace. Warm, smooth, and I could feel her heartbeat. "We decided that we'd celebrate one holiday from everyone's homeworld once a cycle. That's currently 7 holidays per cycle, unless we hire on someone from another world." I thought about it. The human hadn't been nearly as disastrous as I'd been led to believe they were. She was a competent navigator, even finding us a path around a border skirmish that let us get to our destination on time with the fuel we had. Deal, I said, holding out my manipulator for the human's handshake gesture. The next station we stopped at for refueling, she invited me to go shopping with her. The experience was at once unnerving and relaxing somehow, as she walked me through the hustle and bustle of the station's shopping quarter. She pointed out trinkets and knickknacks, naming which crew member each was perfect for. It was fun until she said, "You should decide who you want to give a gift to. Nobody is forced to participate, and no one will take it badly if you don't give them something. But if there's anyone you feel you should give a gift to, now's the time to get it." That sounded fine and well, but I couldn't, as a good captain, only give gifts to specific crew members. Rule 28. Never allow favoritism to affect your actions or choices. I would either need to give everyone a gift, or no one. Rule 60. Anything that improves morale without jeopardizing the ship or the mission is a good thing. Gifts for all it is, I said, but Rule 1. Never be afraid to admit mistakes. Rule 7. Never hesitate to ask for help when you need it. Cat, I'm very sorry, but I wasn't paying close attention when you were pointing out which items were good choice for specific crew members. Could you, help me? Her face brightened. Of course, Hen. Let's do it. I worried that her sudden exuberance might cause an issue in the crowded shops. I needn't have worried. She navigated them as though she had an innate sense of where the crowd would part and where it would compact. Maybe it was one of those mythical human powers I'd heard about. I decided I'd ask her about it another time. She was so excited, I thought that her skeleton would jump out of its meat, or however the human saying goes. She'd found the perfect gloves for the engineer, a four-armed creature with 6 grasping digits on each manipulator that could move in ways that would make one think that they didn't have an endoskeleton. After paying for the gloves, she bounced out of the shop to wait for me in the promenade. The shopkeeper totaled up my purchases and piled them into a disposable tote. "Humans, huh?" he asked. I just cracked my mandibles once and caught up to her on the promenade. "We're done, right?" I asked. She pointed at a small shop. "One more to go," she said. The shop had human goods, mugs shaped for human manipulators, although the size of some of them made me think that some of the humans must be gargantuan. Shirts made for a body with 2 arms on a level with the head opening, and the host of trinkets, gadgets, and snacks that I didn't begin to comprehend. We carried our goods in, and she walked up to the side counter and waved over the human working there. "We have a bunch of gift wrapping to do." "No problem," the human male said. "What's the occasion?" "We are declaring it Christmas." "Nice! If you fill out those slips there and put each one of the items, we'll get them wrapped and tagged for you." She filled out the slips and laid out the gifts, 15 in all, including the gloves for the engineer. How she could remember what gift went to which crew member was beyond me, but she did seem to have a sharp mind when she applied herself. "I'll ping your comm when these are ready," the human male said. "Sure," Cat said. "Let me give you my Contact me instead," I said. "Most of these are my fault anyway." "You sure, Cap?" "I'm sure," I said. "Can you check with the courier office and see if there are any priority packages we can pick up for Sigri 7 station? It's not much, but the little extra cash doesn't hurt." "Sure thing, Cap. When you're done, you can stow them all in my cabin. I don't mind, since it's just until the next jump. We'll celebrate while we're in the lane with nothing else to do." Navigator Katerina was not the only person capable of sneaky plans. I don't know what got me in the mood, but as soon as she left the shop, I caught the male's attention. "What would be a good gift for an adult human female, Class 1 navigator?" I asked. "Tell me some more about her," he said, "and we'll figure out something together." I left the packages on the pile in her cabin, save one that I hid in my own cabin. Something made me want to surprise her with it. I wasn't sure whether it was a dominance thing or a predator thing, or something else entirely. True to her word, as soon as we jumped and were in the hyperlane, she set the small artificial tree on a table in the mess and piled the packages around it. She asked me to wait for everyone in the mess while she gathered them all. On the way, I snuck the package out of my cabin and hid it at the bottom of the pile of packages. Just in time, too, as the entire crew piled in a rush. Cat entered wearing a hat like the one at the picture of the fat human and called out, "Merry Christmas!" We all returned the greeting, curious about what would happen next. She pulled out a tray of snacks out of the gaddy, along with the mild intoxicant drinks. The snacks and drinks were all different for each species-specific metabolism. Guessing by the sweet grubs and the prath juice she supplied myself and the Loadmaster Misteel. They were all special occasion dishes and drinks. "Now," she said, While we all sit around and get fat and happy, I'll play Santa and pass out the presents. With that, she began picking up the packages and delivering them to the person on the tag. After she delivered 3 or 4, she stopped and looked at us. Well, go ahead and open them. Half the fun is discovering what you got. It soon turned into a frenzy of ripping open the brightly colored paper, being pleasantly surprised by the thoughtful gift, finding a tag, and thanking the one that provided the gift. Cat laughed and sang some silly songs in a human language that was peppy and bouncy. At Cat's suggestion, I'd gotten engineer Griffklin a multi-tool with a knife that seemed to fascinate her to no end. Even as she opened other gifts, she kept manipulating the tool in one hand, opening the tool, feeling it, then closing it. "Cut-proof gloves!" Griffklin called out. "Cat, how did you know?" Cat put an arm around her and pointed to the bandages on 3 of her digits. "I'm observant." It seemed as though everyone in the crew brought me something. Some were decorations for my admittedly sparsely furnished cabin, some were treats for my home world, and one, from Cat, was the antique navigation calculator. It was beat up and of no use for modern navigation, but it was the same make and model as my broodmother's broodmother, who had used so many cycles ago. It looked just like the one that sat on the shelf in my broodmother's home. I turned it over, and there it was, the markings my ancestors had made on it when she received it brand new. "How did you get this?" I asked. "Last time we were in Crawler Station, I called your broodmother to find out what would be a good gift for you. She said she wanted to pass it on, and had it couriered to one of the stations on our route. So, I guess it's really from your mom. My broodmother may have supplied it, but you were the one who thought to reach out and ask her. And that was only a few ship days after you boarded. Well, you were willing to take a chance on a human, so I thought that I would get you something that showed I appreciated it." She went back to handing out gifts until the only one that was left was the one I'd placed there. There were murmurs and apologies from the crew for not getting her something, when she'd done so much for everyone. The general consensus was that they'd make it up to her next time. "Really, don't worry, guys. Everyone here has been so helpful. I told you, you didn't have to get me anything, and I meant it. Giving gifts is the best part for me anyway." There was a great deal of conversation going while she looked at the package. I got the feeling that she'd be getting special treatment from most of the crew for a while. Finally, she opened the package, and her eyes began leaking liquid. I'd heard this was a bad thing. I'm sorry," I said. "If that made you—" "No," she cut me off. "There's nothing to apologize for." She lifted a tea mug with a built-in strainer out of the box and showed everyone the picture of her as a child with her parents on the mug. "I guess the guy in the gift store helped you find my socials," she said. "But it's just so thoughtful of you. It's been ages, but I still miss them every day. And now they'll always be with me by my side on the bridge. Thank you so much." Fulkerton tested out the cut-proof gloves with a very sharp blade of the multi-tool, then turned to me. "Captain, have you decided whether you'll extend Cat's contract, or are you still thinking it'll just be the one cycle?" Rule 54. Good crew members are hard to find, so when you find one, sign them on for as long as you can. I think we can negotiate a long-term contract with the Union, if you are so inclined, Cat. I mean, this is my only first Christmas, and I wouldn't want to mess it up next cycle. End of story. I would quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and Patreons. Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Lord Azrakal, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Dragzoon WRE, Holly's Sister, Arcadian. Thank you very much.